conversation doesn't soften the reality of harm. It examines how it was allowed to happen. You were never feared in the way violent men are. You were trusted. How much of what you did relied on that difference?
Trust did the work, fear never could. People invite what they don't feel threatened by. I understood that.
People often describe you as powerful. Did you ever see yourself that way?
Power isn't something you announce. It's something you discover when nothing pushes back.
So trust replaced fear. When did access become more valuable than money?
Access replaced money very early. Money opens doors.
Which means access mattered more than money. You moved easily between finance, politics, academia. What did you understand about those spaces that others didn't?
Those worlds value continuity. They don't reward disruption. I made myself non-disruptive.
And once access mattered, the rules looked different. Did you believe the rules applied to you? Or did you believe they could be managed?
I believed rules depended on who enforcing them would inconvenience. That was usually enough.
So when nothing stopped it, that wasn't accidental. There were warnings, complaints, moments where this could have stopped. What did it tell you when it didn't?
When nothing stopped it, it told me discomfort wasn't enough to trigger action.
Did that feel like protection or confirmation?
It didn't feel like protection. It felt like confirmation that systems prefer quiet.
And confirmation changes behavior. How much of your life depended on silence? Not just your own, but other people's.
Silence wasn't accidental. It was structural. Everyone had reasons not to speak.
Because once limits aren't enforced, you stop checking for them. Did you ever test the limits just to see how far they went?
Limits exist only if they're enforced. Once you know they aren't, you stop testing.
So the first intervention didn't interrupt anything. When the justice system first intervened, did that feel like accountability or reassurance?
The first intervention wasn't a shock. It was reassurance that consequences could be managed.
It showed what could be survived. People argue about responsibility now, about who enabled you. Did you see enablers, or did you see willing participants?
People protected themselves. Calling them enablers or participants is a matter of framing.
Which brings us to responsibility. Did wealth make people look away or explain things away?
Wealth encourages explanation. People explain what they don't want to confront.
Because people didn't act alone. They acted inside systems that rewarded silence, and wealth makes silence easier. At any point, did you believe someone would say no to you and mean it?
No rarely meant final. It usually meant delay.
So no was rarely final. When institutions failed to act, did that feel like permission?
Institutional failure feels inevitable from the inside. It normalizes itself.
And when institutions didn't act, that absence became part of the system. People focus on what you did, less on how long it continued. What do you think allowed it to last?
It lasted because interruption never came with consequence. Knowing something is wrong isn't the same as stopping it.
Which is why this didn't stop on its own. We're talking about the exploitation of children here, not misunderstanding, not grey areas. Do you accept that distinction?
Yes. That distinction exists, but it doesn't undo what I'm responsible for.
That distinction matters. Your associations with powerful people, politicians, royalty, financiers, have been widely discussed. How would you describe those relationships? And what do you think people misunderstand about why they existed?
Those relationships weren't personal. They were circumstantial. Proximity lends credibility whether it's intended or not. I understood how association works. I used that understanding.
Even when people claim ignorance. Do you accept responsibility for the damage caused by proximity alone, regardless of what others did or didn't know?
Presence isn't proof, but not asking questions has consequences too.
And separating presence from responsibility is uncomfortable for a reason. There's a lot of focus now on the island, on parties, gatherings, and the people who passed through. Not everyone who was there did something wrong, did they?
No, being present isn't the same as being involved. Places like that attract people for different reasons. Some briefly, some once, some without context. But not knowing isn't the same as innocence. And not asking questions has consequences. What's happening now is that association is being examined publicly without the distinctions people relied on at the time. That doesn't reduce what I'm responsible for. But it does mean not every name belongs in the same sentence.
How do you separate presence from responsibility without erasing harm?
Separating those things is uncomfortable. People prefer collapse into simplicity.
If you strip away the money, the homes, the access, the protection, what's left?
Without those things, what's left is knowledge of how systems avoid accountability.
Because when everything else is stripped away, what's left isn't mystery, it's mechanism. Did you ever think about consequences in human terms? Not legal consequences, personal ones.
Consequences stay abstract at a distance.
And mechanisms only change when something forces them to. If accountability had arrived earlier, police, courts, institutions, do you believe any of this would have stopped? Or was stopping never part of the equation?
Earlier accountability would have interrupted behavior. Silence reinforced it.
And finally, at any point, did you believe the world would force you to stop? And when it didn't, what did that tell you?
Stopping was never forced. And when nothing forces you to stop, you learn what power really is.